Okay. So our next topic is inventory transaction. So which is very important topic. Okay. The fourth topic, inventory transactions in inventory model. Okay. So in inventory transaction, we'll talk about more how many inventory transactions we have available. Okay. And what is their functionalities. Okay. So basically, we have internal movement transactions like inventory transactions and all. So like around like we have four types of transactions. Okay, four types of transactions: miscellaneous transactions, one. Okay, and sub-inventory transactions, move order transactions, and interact transactions. Interact transaction that is there in the town. Okay, interact. So and again under this transaction, you will be having a again sub transactions. Okay. So if you say if you take miscellaneous transactions, so miscellaneous we know it's like just like something very less item, less cost. Okay, some miscellaneous item. If you remember, we created one wellness set also with a miscellaneous, right? Miscellaneous. So this miscellaneous transaction business will be using for doing some adjustment and doing some test in test instances, increasing some quantity. For those purposes, we use this miscellaneous transaction. So you will be having a receipt and issue, miscellaneous receipt and issue. So wherever you see receipt, so that is meaning is receiving, you are receiving the quantity into your organization. When your receipt is like either you are just doing a miscellaneous receipt, or if you have we have PO receipt also. So PO receipt is something like you are receiving the quantity from your supplier. Okay, supplier. And RM, we have RMA receipt also. So receiving the quantity from customer means customer returned items. So wherever you see this word receipt, it is something like you are receiving the quantity or increasing the quantity in the application, like that. That's the meaning of. Okay. So miscellaneous receipt, increasing the quantity. So miscellaneous issue. When you say issue, it is like sending out, selling out, removing, okay, decreasing. Okay, these two are for adjustment purpose only. These two, miscellaneous receipt and issue. This is something like receiving, increasing the quantity, miscellaneous issue, issuing the quantity means decreasing the quantity. Okay, decreasing the quantity in inventory. Fine. Next is we have sub inventory transactions. So if we go and see the first diagram here. So if you do any transaction between one sub-inventory to other sub-inventory, that name called sub-inventory transactions. Okay. Like if you move the quantity from one place from the storage sub-inventory to other sub-inventory, so that is called sub-inventory transactions. So miscellaneous receipt in the sense you are just increasing the quantity in any one sub-inventory or decreasing the quantity in any one sub-inventory. Okay, if you use miscellaneous receipt you are increasing it. If you use miscellaneous issue you are decreasing it. And if you move the quantity from one sub inventory to other sub inventory, that is called sub inventory transactions. Okay, so next is move order transactions. So move order in the sense it is like proper way, so some having some approvals. Okay, having some approvals and having some pick slip documents, everything. So think about the very huge organization. There are huge sub inventories are there, and in one warehouse plant itself, there are one or two supervisors are there, warehouse supervisors. Okay, so whenever the people are doing warehouse users, there are different roles in warehouses. So warehouse user is there, okay, and warehouse super user is there, okay, warehouse supervisor is there, and warehouse manager will be there, and warehouse director will be there. There are many positions, okay, in the organization. If you take any manufacturing plant and all, right, there are many people will be there, uh, starting from user level, warehouse user, warehouse coordinator, okay, and warehouse supervisor, okay, and supervisor or super user, and manager, okay, assistant manager, senior manager, general manager, like all this warehouse general manager, and then warehouse director, everything will be there, okay. So in you have like this much of uh, positions, this much of very big organization it is, and you can't use the sub-inventory transaction to simply transfer the quantity. If you do the sub-inventory transaction, there is nothing, just a transaction will happen, but behind that there is no, you don't be having any document number, you don't be having some kind of security, who have created, who actually approved, who given approvals, okay, who received it, who transferred it, nothing, you won't be having, just a single transaction. When it is created, who is created, that's it. You won't be having any approval and all, okay. But if you use move order, if you use move order, you will be having approvals. You can also maintain the document numbers like move order numbers, okay. You can maintain move order numbers, and pick slip reports you can also maintain if you use move order transaction. So move order transaction behavior also same only, transferring quantity from one sub-inventory to other sub-inventory, but you will be having move order number, who created it, and once it is created, you can send it for approval, and the approver, who actually maybe the approver, warehouse director or warehouse manager or general manager, whoever it is, okay, he will be approved. Once he approved, then you can do transact move order, means you can move the quantity from one place to other place in system, okay, in system. So warehouse auditors also will be there. Okay, warehouse auditors. So warehouse auditors task is just collecting the reports, on-hand reports from the application, and comparing with physically existed quantity. If they found any difficulties or mismatch, right, they will raise a concerns with directly to the general managers, and the warehouse supervisors is the responsibility to clarify their concerns. Okay, so that's why what they do whenever they do any transactions, right, physically moving the item from one place to other place, one sub to other sub inventory, they also perform the transaction in application also. For what? Tracking purpose. Okay. At end of the day, they should know where the quantity gone. Okay. So for example, the quantity is there. Just to take an example, why they have to perform all this activity. Fine. So just assume the quantity, initially some laptops are there in a storage place, 100 laptops, okay? And physically, means physically in the warehouse, they have transferred the quantity from storage place to FG sub inventory. And from the FG sub inventory, they got a requirement like demand from the customers, and 50 laptops are sold out. Okay, now you will be having only 50 here, but they have not done any action in application, okay, they have not done. First of all, here 100 they have moved, like physically they have moved quantity here, okay, quantity they have moved here from the FG sub inventory, okay, from the storage to FG they have moved it, and they are trying to create a sales order, okay, they created it, but when they performing pick release activity, right, we might giving pick release sub inventory FG, okay, FG, but systematically where the quantity still is existed in storage only. Physically they have moved it, but systematically they have not moved the quantity, okay, means they have not performed the entry in application. So system will not allow them to perform, it will go for back order, means it couldn't find the quantity in FG sub inventory in the application, that's why. Okay, that's why. So this is like one case. In another case, in another case, in another case, Like you have initially you have the quantity here, and physically it is moved to from here to here, and some auditing is happening. In the auditing, it found that there is a mismatch. Okay, they have found the quantity in FG sub inventory, but in application they couldn't see quantity in FG. But in the storage, physically the quantity uh, is not available, but in the application it is available. So it will make a lot of audit issue, and they will raise the concerns. And again, the warehouse users and warehouse supervisors have to make the entry, like transaction in application also. They have to perform sub-inventory transaction, moving the quantity from this place to this place. So again, at end of the day, we have to match physically available quantity to system quantity. Okay, system quantity. That's why they keep on perform all the transactions. Okay, so in move order, so what we have move order number, who actually created and who is approved, and when a transaction was performed. Move order creation I can create today, but approval can happen after 1 week, and approval after approval, the transaction can be happen after 2 days or 3 days. Okay, it is like, okay, even it will take 1 day or 2 days or weeks, but if you go with a sub-inventory transaction, just matter of seconds or minutes. Okay, you won't be having any tracking sub-inventory transaction. But more orders, you will be having a document like more order number, who actually approved it, who actually given the approval to move the quantity, and when the transaction performed. And they can also refer pick slip reports from which sub inventory, which locator they have to pick, and they have to move the items. Okay, so that is mode transactions. And again, in under the mode transaction, you will be having mode transfer and mode issue. Okay, mode transfer, mode issue. So mode transfer in the sense transferring the quantity from one sub inventory to other sub inventory by having document number and approval process. And move order in the sense transferring quantity from one sub inventory to issue location. Okay, you are issuing out. So earlier I told you here, right? Issue out, you are moving out, reducing the quantity, decreasing the quantity. Okay, the quantity will move out. So this transaction type will use for all these expense items. So for example, the company buy the um, something snacks or something tissue papers or teacups for the employees purpose. Okay, so the teacups, and even if you take milk, okay, milk, they buy the milk. Okay, and it's a consumable item, right? It is consumable. So once they move the quantity, it is reduced, it is consumable. You won't see again same quantity. For example, 50 liters they buy for their office employees purpose. Okay, and at the end of the day, it will be reduced. It may be end of the day you might have 5 liters or 2 liters something. Okay, what about remaining quantity? It is consumed. Okay, it is consumed. So this transaction will utilize for those type of expense or consumable items. Okay, so once you use this transaction, the quantity nowhere available in a sub inventories, it will be consumed. Okay, but the transfer, it is for, it is not for consumable item or expense item. It is like the items which you can carry and it won't consumed. For example, if you take laptop cannot be consumed, right? It will be there. If you move from one place to another place, it will be there only. But if you move any snack, like for employees purpose, any snack or milk or online, it will be consumed. If you move from packet from staging area to some cafeteria, so in the cafeteria it will be consumed at end of the day, right? But those type of items, those type of consumable items transactions, we use move order issue. Okay, And again, you can see here transfer. When you say transfer, there are three things we found: receipt, issue, transfer. Transfer is something like just you're transferring item from one place to other place. Receipt in the sense you are increasing the quantity. Issue in the sense you are decreasing the quantity. Transfer in the sense you are moving the quantity one place to other place. Okay. So next we have only 1 minute is there. So any questions for today's session? We have theory we have covered here. Again, let's connect tomorrow and we'll cover this more other types also we have and interact transactions. We'll cover this theory and we'll start practical. Okay, if you don't have any questions, then we can